This is a sacred pause for organization, reflection, and renewal. And today we are gathering not just for rest, but to restore rhythm and reclaim purpose and celebrate creativity for the community. And I will go over Faithful Fridays. This is a portion of it. I don't have a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of things. So just some of the segments and highlights: health and fitness and community engagement is part of Stillness and Saturdays. This is also where we work towards our strong newsletter, which is spirit training, renewal, optimism, nutrition, and growth. Um, Timothy says that we don't focus on just the body only, but other things are just as important. Pause for purpose, where we focus on animal advocacy. And we honor Proverbs 12:10, which states, "A righteous man regardeth the life of his beasts." And today we uplift stray and starving dogs, calling for compassion and advocacy. Our Love Daily Kwanzaa speak for the day is Kumba, which is creativity. That's the sixth principle of Kwanzaa, and it calls us to leave our community more beautiful than we found it. And don't worry, we're going to leave this more beautiful than we found it. I'm just rushing. And hopefully today I will be able to share with you some things that are artistic, for example, some poetry, dance, music, and storytelling. But we'll talk about that a little more later. Also, we look at Imani, which is faith, and Kuji Chagilia, self-determination, to guide us today, and verbal, because I have a lot going on, community and prayer. And I've had a shout out to Strong Tower Church, by the way. Strong Tower Church. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history, and this is going to be a review as well for Faithful Fridays. And again, when you're faithful, when you have a mission that God sends you on, and you can't stop, won't stop, strong, in this strong finish by, listen to that song by Jonathan Nelson, we're going to have trials and tribulations, and if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for us. That's been the theme for this whole week. And I'm going to tell you the story of 3 churches. Yesterday, I recorded, but I didn't upload, and I'm running out of space on everything. And God bless everyone that's helped me this past week. Once again, I'm shouting out Strong Tower Church. They prayed for me. And normally, if you know anything about me, I'm very particular about, hey, Kid Frankie, greetings on the city. Thank you. Yes, for all of us. And that's one thing that I want to say, that, each and every day that God has blessed us with, we're meant to be here and enjoy it, It's almost like when you wake up in the morning and the sun shines on you, or God opens your eyes, it's like God has, standing over you wherever you're sleeping and is giving you a gift. And forget the glitter, I was doing some stuff, always doing something. And God is giving you this gift and says, my child, my beloved, enjoy this day, courtesy of God. And it's just like, a lush luxury offering that God has given you. So yes, indeed. But yes, shout out to Strong Tower Church. They prayed for me. And if you know anything about me in prayer and, allowing, my energy is really important to me, and allowing people to pray over you, because sometimes they don't, and this is going to be a tale of 3 churches if I get a chance to tell it. Sometimes, people don't mean harm, but the prayers aren't really intentional. It's based on their perceptions and perspectives. And shout out to Mount Olive Church in Hehira, and and I haven't been in a while, so forgive me if I mess up the name. Charge it to my head, not the heart and the spirit, because she's a beautiful, beautiful woman, a spiritual mother indeed. This woman, I've been to every church in Valdosta. I have never been to Hehira, but from the moment I encountered this woman, I thought I knew her. I thought that she was from Mount Ararat or one of these other many churches that I visited, and her spirit is so no nonsense, okay? She's no nonsense, loving. She is the purest and truest form of strong, the icon of what you would consider to be a strong woman, even more so. The icon of strong. She has that history about her, that knowledge, that stability about her, strong Black woman. So shout out to Mount Olive too, and Hehira, because her message to me, because I was very cautious and careful about who, and this is glitter, I can't get her to go away. I'm very cautious and careful about who I allow intentionally to speak over my life and pray over my life. I mean, you can do it without my permission, but again, I'm not receiving it. But each and every prayer since the first day that I met Strong Tower Church has been on point. I met them last year, about this time actually, which is really amazing. About this time, it was about Thanksgiving, and they were showing, I think it was maybe the Saturday before Thanksgiving, they were showing a movie at Unity Park in Valdosta, Georgia, and Valdosta in fall is beautiful. So I'm gonna tell you this: if you've never been to Valdosta, never heard of it, because it is something that's unusual. But in the fall, between mid-September and October, November, even now November, you guys, you need to come and visit Valdosta. And if you can, enjoy the outdoors, however way you need to enjoy it, if you know what I'm saying, because it is the most beautiful thing. The air is brisk and cool, late at night, and in the morning it's still a little, the weather is beautiful. It's like bar none, and the foliage is beautiful too. The trees are so beautiful, reds and oranges, and it's the most beautiful thing ever. So please visit, just because it's not a big tourist destination or whatever, it's a beautiful place to be just naturally. The things that Valdosta has naturally are absolutely gorgeous. And so, what else was I saying? And so, in addition to that, what I was saying about prayer, how I met Strong Tower. About this time last year, and again, this is to tell of 3 churches, because all 3 churches about this time last year, there's a story to tell. And when I asked my question for myself, and I usually ask the others, but I didn't get a chance to engage with a lot of people yesterday. I had a lot going on. I had some faithful resting, and I haven't had time to, record and upload whatever I recorded. So, I said, we'll just do it live because I want to share it. It's so much, and it'll never get spoken. Nothing is ever going to be 100% perfect. And then, with my limited resources, and sometimes God makes things perfect in its imperfections, because with the limits that are out here with all of this, it's great because, it puts you in a position where it's authentic. It's 100% real, 100% me. And, it's the truth, and flaws and all, like a certain singer says, flaws and all, and I love it. I love it. I do, I really do. But so last year about this time, again, they were hosting movies night, and that's another beautiful time. If you do come during the movie nights in Unity Park. If you love outdoors and you're not bold enough to just be out there, come, bring a blanket, bring your kids, your family, your loved ones, bring yourself, and enjoy. A lot of times they have like free popcorn and things like that. It's just a beautiful environment to be in. Outside, if you're older like me and you remember the drive-thrus, this is like a walk-through, and it's family, just families around, and you just feel like part of the greater Valdosta community family. So please, please, absolutely, this is the best time of year to come out and visit. Very best time of year. And then they have the Christmas parade, which there's a tragic story behind it, but I love just outdoors in Unity Park, and that's how I came to Valdosta. See, all these stories interwoven, but we're gonna stick with the 3 churches, to tell of the 3 churches. So that's how I met them. I went to the movie night, and they had this stand, and this church is mainly a Caucasian church, but the vibe is so weird, let me tell you. So, I went up and I saw the popcorn, and, I was like, how much for the popcorn? And it was like, it's free, whatever. And, the pastor, the pastor's wife, the pastor's kids, the people that they have helped, just loving. And I'm going to tell you from the very first time, because, I have no words. But I think in one of these little short clips, I have a picture of them, And what's so unique, God put all of these churches in my path for a reason, a season or a lifetime. But they are the reason that I'm here in this room tonight. And I'm going to tell you, and normally I don't do hotels. And like I said, there's a story linking all 3. And for me to tell it verbally just like this is too much because there's so much going on. But trust me, they're a very good church. So if you get a chance, regardless of your race, regardless of your socioeconomic class, visit Strong Tower Church, Clay and Howell Road. It's a little teeny, very family-oriented church. And I honestly, 1,000% feel like I'm part of the family. They didn't say to me, how you go to a new job and they say, yeah, we're just like family here. And you get there and you are definitely not. Or you go to a huge church and maybe they have the intentions and they say, hey, welcome to your new family. And it's pretty obvious you are not accepted into the fold, But this church, they never said it with their words. They are the epitome. And for some reason, I need to do my hair. For the past couple of weeks, there's been a couple of different messages. The other message has been, and it's been linked to worldly. Like one of them was, if they wanted to, they would. First message, worldly form. The Christian form of that is, if God orders them their steps to do that, they will. So don't be expecting nothing that God ain't ordered or ordained. If they wanted to, they would. If the Holy Spirit guided them to, they absolutely would. The second one is, I just forgot it that fast, but just amazing is all I have to say. But every prayer is right on point. I trust them to pray for me even when they haven't asked. They're not standing in front of me. And the thing about this church, and they told me, because I used to go to church, wherever I see a church door open, I would go. That's how I came across all three of these churches, by the way. And I don't know what's going on. My screen is jumping here. All three of these churches, by the way. And, Thursday nights, I had an opening. There was a church that I visited. Again, I'm going to mention all the churches because they all are a part of my life and part of my journey over the past 2 years for the Christian Connection. And, when you go to these churches, keep in mind, they are businesses. They really are. That's why they have a tax ID number so they can be recognized as a business. Don't let them fool you. But, the reason that I go is the harvest. There are good people there with good intentions, and there are people there that have good things inside of them, and you have to somehow, come up to the point where you can kind of elicit those and get those good things to come out, right? That's your job. For me, that's what I feel as for me as a Christian, and also that may include just leaving folks alone, that too can be a big part of it, but Courageous Church on Hill Avenue is where I would sometimes visit on Thursdays, but my location changed a little bit. So I wanted something closer to the south side of town. I think that's considered the west side. And the pastor there, I think, is he's a good pastor. He's very dynamic, and from what I can tell, very honest, very open. Good pastor. Young pastor, but very good. But so I was looking for Thursdays, and Strong Tower said they had something on Thursdays. And then so lo and behold, me and wanting to fellowship and connect with people, I went on a Thursday. But nobody was there. Nobody was there. I was like, and I know they didn't stand me up because I've had churches do that, where they would intentionally give me wrong information because they really just didn't want me to come, honestly, So I've had all those experiences. I've been asked not to return, told that I was not welcome at the church because the pastor preached something. And I was just asking questions. I was just like, hey, but you preached on that before and you said this. And, it was just like, But all of these churches, another thing too, some of the churches will feign where they want, kind of like, it almost feels like a relationship where they're saying, oh, if you go to this church, you can't go to any church. But again, they are businesses. The reason why is because all of these churches actually work together. They talk together, they work together, they get together, not every single one, but, the ones that choose to, they get together and they talk about you. They talk about the new members that come, how they join, how they present, what they feel like their purpose is, do they think they're going to be fruitful for the church? Are they going to be members that they actively support? They paint a picture of you and how, you're supposed to be dealt with, So, and I found this out because actually, and sometimes your enemies are your best friend. Actually, a church, Crossing Jordan Church, the director of that church is also director of Partnership to End Homelessness. And I'm going to say this, because I mentioned these churches, do not mean they know me. They claim to know me or they even like me. Some of them actually, abhor me. Really do, but I'm going to say this, nothing ever is final or finite. God controls everything. But never write anything off. You always be that living bridge to be open and be connected. But also be honest. Don't allow yourself to be gaslit and to be whatever. But anyhow, how I came across these churches, I'm going to put all the connections together. So that Thursday I went, nobody was there. I looked across the street. Across the street was Morning Star Baptist Church. I didn't know what it was. It was just a big cross church across the street. There was nobody over here at Strong Tower. I was like, I know they didn't stand me up because they received so lovely. They're honest. They both gave you their numbers, the pastor and his wife, and the kids. And I love the kids, and they were just great. And I say kids, but they're teenagers, But in my heart, love the kids. But so I looked across the street. I saw all the cars in the parking lot, and this is the week, actually, the Thursday before Thanksgiving. Okay, so again, right around the same time, you guys, right around the same time. So I looked across the street, saw all the cars across the street, and for me, I always looked at churches as public places and, places where you can commune and fellowship. So I see cars, I see doors open. I go over to inquire, hey, so I walked over there, always dressed in all black. And I was like, okay, I know this probably looks scary because these people do not know me. And I'm crossing this parking lot in all black at night. And so I see a woman and I'm, acknowledging that that's probably the case. I'm just like, hey, my name is Maria Willoughby. And, I often visit different churches. I initially came to visit this church here across the street. They said they had a service on Thursday night and nobody was there. I don't know if there was a misunderstanding. I never followed up on all of that or, what the situation was. But all I know is that they do love me. They absolutely do. They love me. They love me. They love you, and I love them too. But so what ends up happening is, and I gotta hurry up. I don't know why I'm taking my time. So what ends up happening, my daddy used to say, can you chew gum and walk at the same time? That's what I'm trying to do. So what ends up happening is, and she says, and I says, what are y'all having tonight? Or do y'all have services on Thursday night? And she says, no, we're just having choir practice and things like that. And I said, oh, okay. And this is Sister Brooks. So I didn't know that at the time, but this woman to me, and again, all these people, initially so loving, and I fall in love so easy, so loving. I'm in love with everything. I walk into this room and, I've done 20 part dumping all my stuff everywhere, just in love with everything. So, so loving. And I sat, she said, well, let's sit right here. Let me get you a program so you'll know what's going on, what services and things like that are happening. So I said, okay. So I sat outside on the bench and she was like, as a matter of fact, we are having a mental health thing tonight or whatever. And she was like, you're welcome to join. And I said, okay, fine. I would love to because, now my trip hasn't been wasted and I get to be around people and interact with people and, learn the church. And the more that whole night, it just got better and better. So I went in and then they had all these tables set up. They had a couple of mental health professionals. I think it was a Sheila Walker. And then there was, I don't know why he reminds me of someone from high school years, and I want to call him Gene Melson, but that's not who he is. I forget his name. But him and his wife, and there was, Deacon Goss, Deacon Brooks, and a woman with her children, and there was a guy that's in a choir. It was lovely, okay? And so they put up these different mental health things, and I thought it was great. And they had an open forum to ask questions. And one of the things when I went to visited Crossing Jordan, one of the things that I reported with my Christian connection, I wanted to get a women's thing together because as a middle-aged woman, and I talk about the singles ministry all the time because it's so important. I think the girl Sheila Walker also does the singles ministry in Morning Cross, so there's absolutely nothing going on. But what I wanted to talk about, especially with other women, being a middle-aged woman and being mostly, I'll say it varies, but pretty much about 98%, 99% of the time, and I in the past there has been times when it's dropped down to like 80, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a pretty good chaste person. I see what's happening. I'm sorry. I think it's probably Frankie or somebody else might be sending me. It's telling me that some messages are being something because they may be inappropriate. Okay, it wants me to go to the settings to do that. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it. Be careful what you say because the channel is blocking your messages. I don't know what's being said, and maybe it's a good thing. I don't really have a lot of traffic here where I used to have people that would come and troll and say things, and even though I didn't say it because what they said, it put my channel in jeopardy, so it's blocking it, so I'm sorry. So if you're using words that can be perceived as not nice or salacious or anything like that, it's going to block you, just so you know. Oh, that's all you said. Hey, Anime Prince, I haven't seen you in a very long time, and I have to say I'm doing very well on this Stillness Saturday. I am still, meaning I'm at peace. I know that God loves me, and God always sends his angels. Those were the three things that I, talked about that I was thankful for. Well, we had Thankful Thursdays this Thursday. It was the same kind of Thankful Thursday as we had previously, but I haven't had a chance to upload that clip. And I didn't upload Fruitful Fridays either because, again, I have to be connected to Wi-Fi and I have to have the space on my device to do everything. So, but yeah, I'm doing great. Do you have a Facebook? I have a Facebook. I don't even do Snap. So you're telling your age, Anime, because Do people still do Snapchat? I'm turning into that little silver gray hair little old lady. I don't know anything about anything. But I have a Facebook. It's under the Art of Good. I haven't posted anything there as well. So, and also about my estranged family, my beautiful nieces. I love you. And I don't know, they probably don't stalk me like I need to stop saying things like that because it's derogatory. But every now and then, what just happened? Everything just got dark. What is that? Is this some type of adapted, like, what is going on? I don't understand this. Okay, so all of a sudden everything got dark. All I did was touch the screen. Okay, all right. So anyhow, what ends up happening is every now and then I'll go and I'll visit and I'll look up my brother. I'll look up my sister, even though she has nothing online. And I think probably because my sister, this is just my thinking, I don't know, because like these people are not strangers to me. I have not had a relationship with them, unfortunately, for like 20 years, even though I love them dearly. Hey, Calvin, how are you? And thank you for the love. And I'm going to say this about compliments. It's so funny how when you're younger, you take it for granted because you're just like, you get so many and you take it for granted that you're always like that. Lana Del Rey says that you're always going to be young and beautiful, but you do get older, you age. And the thing about it is that I'm proud of being older, and I want to stay thankful again for the men that came through these couple of weeks, moved from in Mission Orient, Valley, and Equip, because one brother reminded me what he said to me. He called me his beloved, God's beloved, or I don't remember. He just called me beloved. But the way that he said it was in such a way to let me know that I'm the beloved of God, that God loves me, and thank you. I mean, that's, to me as a woman, an aged woman, that's the most beautiful compliment ever, is to acknowledge. And that's why I say when people, tell me in the Be Intentional thing, James 2:15-16, when people tell me take care and be blessed, all I want you to do is acknowledge that I am absolutely blessed, that God loves me. The fact that I'm still standing here today, approaching 50, my Jubilee year, healthy, mentally, spiritually, everything is taken care of. And when I believe sincerely that when you are doing God's work, or I believe that when if you want to call it the universe, has devised a path for you, and you are taking that path, everything that you need falls into place. All the wisdom that you need, things, sometimes there are things that are said in rooms that you don't see, but God discloses all to you that you need. He doesn't give you so much where you're overwhelmed, like, oh my God, all that's really happening. But he gives you enough so that you have discernment, and he guides your steps. So I'm so thankful about that. You missed me doing what videos? And I have to be careful because, again, I don't believe you're a troll because I think I remember you. But again, I still have a lot of naivety to me where I want to believe the best about everybody. And I always got good things to say about people. So when you say those videos, you mean these videos, the videos that I always do. But anyhow, and you may be the reason that I had the block things popping up on my screen, because you may be saying things that are inappropriate. I hope not. Oh, now, and see, that's the other thing. I do get people that troll, and Anime, I'm going to have to block you. He's talking about shower videos. What I used to do was to document. I went through a legal thing a while back, and because nobody knew me, that's how I started my YouTube channel. I wish y'all could have known me before then. I'm going to have to block him real quick, though. And I'll tell you why. I'm just going to have him on the channel. But because these are the kind of things that get my videos taken down. So what I used to do was document my whole life. I've always been a loner, been alone. And this way I felt if people knew me, they wouldn't have any issue. I would never have any issues with, anybody, accusing me of anything. But that's not true. Some people maliciously do that. I didn't know that. A girl had to tell me when I went through the legal thing. I said, well, maybe they don't know, that's not the kind of, and she was like, they know that they were wrong and that what the ramifications are of them making that type of accusation, they just don't care. And I couldn't believe that. But really, in today's day and age, even over the past weeks, I've learned that really there are some really bad people out here, you guys, like evil, like evil. And, it's true, And so sometimes when people come on a channel like this and they say things like that and they allude the wrong thing, even though that's not what it's about, people can get that impression. And if they get that, and I didn't delete the message, I just said I hid the channel, but they get that impression. And when they get that impression, it can cause your channel to be removed or blocked or banned, but it's not true, you know. But anyhow, so I would document my whole life. Like I literally had live stream on, like even when I slept, when I went to sleep, I woke up, took a shower, I went through my hair care routine, everything was completely online, you know. And I didn't realize people had weird things going on until I was in Orlando one time. People are really weird, guys. And me, you know, I'm so thankful when people speak to me. I'm appreciative of everything, I tell you, like for real. Oh, I need to watch my time. What time is it? It's going on 10 o'clock. So, so this young man approached me. I was going to Dollar Tree, and I think I told this story before. And I had my little rolling, you know how they had the little mini rolling suitcases? I had that. Ever since the legal situation, I've been living a little differently. So, you know, he says, hey, you know, he's like, hey, I know you, you know, I seen your YouTube channel. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is great, because he looks like a college kid to me. I'm like, what? You know, a nice young man recognizes me, so I'm making some kind of impact. This is my naive thinking. And so, you know, as I'm going into Dollar Tree, he's following me around, you know, little chat. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm just like, okay, this is kind of weird, because I'm just going to Dollar Tree with my suitcase, little mini suitcase here. And I'm feeling like paparazzi, because this guy's like following me around the thing, you know. But I'm like, okay, you know, he's young and he just, you know, sometimes people get that impression just because it's YouTube, and anybody can do a YouTube channel. But anyhow, so just about, you know. So what ends up happening is that he says, you know, yeah, I really liked your videos, you know, especially the sneezing videos. And I said, sneezing videos? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, I made a whole playlist of every video where you sneeze. This is an African-American young man, probably like 20 to 25. So I'm just like, you know, I'm so confused. I'm like, why would you do that? And then he explained to me there's a whole group of people that have a thing for that. And I was just so horrified. And I'm going to say, and see, this is where, you know, I'm very open, but that's what happened. And that's scary. So, but anyhow, yeah, there are some really strange people. But back to the churches. So, yeah, so, and again, all of these, and again, my content is all educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic content. Is for the purpose of journaling and documenting, you know, my life going from marginalization through metamorphosis to momentum, and finally becoming a mogul, not financially, but of overcoming social dynamics and systemic barriers. And all of these churches, the evil within, I tell you. But so anyhow, so when I went to this little mental health thing that this woman cordially allowed me to attend, that I really enjoyed, because I felt in my heart, you know, like, wow, these are really good people. They had freebies there. So I walked into a lot of things, that God ordains everything the way it should be. So maybe it was the thing that I missed, the Strong Tower thing. And I hadn't gone back to Strong Tower for a little bit, because I kept missing the dates and, you know, whatever. And, you know, sometimes it's a small church, you know, sometimes things just happen. So, you know, and then there were times when I was disappointed, but I was just like, well, you know, just like any other church, maybe they just don't want me to be there. So they are perhaps intentionally doing that, and they have the right to, you know, it's their business. They can do what they want to do, you know. So, and I was disappointed, but, you know, I was okay. And so when I looked at the pamphlet that the woman gave me, you know, and it was like a brochure for, and I keep saying, you know, sorry if it bothers you. I used to do that when I was younger too, but I didn't realize I was doing it. So, you know, there was, there it goes. There was Bible study on Wednesdays, and there was an afternoon Bible study and Bible study. There was also Bible Training University, and she was talking to me about that, and I was so impressed about it, because I was like, ooh, a university, do you get a certificate when you come out? Do you automatically become a minister? Like, what's the, you know, I'm really into ministry, what's the thing, you know? And she was like, no, it's just really another Bible study. You know, one of the deacons here teaches it. I was like, okay, wow. So, like I said, I visit every church. So there's the Southside Church of Christ that's next to that. I used to go to the 10 o'clock Bible study there. And then the very first time I went to the afternoon Bible study at Morning Star, I remember flipping through the brochure, looking at it, and I saw the pastor, and I was like, nope, that's a really, really young pastor. It's probably, and I'm being honest with you again, documentary purposes only, probably a sleazoid or, you know, whatever. And then I looked at the name, and the name was kind of precarious, and I was like, nope, definitely not going to church on Sunday, because again, you know, as a person that actually has a purpose and a cause, you know, Sunday to me is when you go to church to dress up and to I don't know, just look good, smell good, you know, it's a show. You know what I'm saying? It's not about actual ministry and give for the people that attend. You know, and sometimes it's just a relaxation place. And when I did my lead newsletter, Lift and Empower, Anoint, and Disciple, that's really what it was all about. Was that we have to get to the point where we're actively ministering. You know, church is not a show, but it's a lot of times people are using the death of a martyr as marketing. It's marketing to give you a happy space and make you feel like you're doing something because you came to church on Sunday, so they can collect that glob, so they can collect that money, send you back off to Pontius to be enslaved for another week, and come on back. So when you bring a person that has actually a purpose, each individual that comes to church should have a purpose. It should not just be a show. If you want a show, go watch a movie, go watch a YouTube video or something. But it's action. Love is an action word. And just shout out also to Liberty Church. I believe they're on Rogers Street in Valdosta. I haven't visited, but I had a chance to meet the couple, clip of them in one of the videos as well. Because actually I walked up on them just out of the blue, and I was telling them, they were just like, I was just like, yeah, okay, I'll take some of them hot dogs. And they were good hot dogs too, by the way. And every one of those was eaten by me, actually. So appreciative. And they were so loving, so beautiful, and so kind. And, the pastor was just like, well, we was here all day. Where you been at? And I was like, well, I'm, trying to do my own ministry. And I said, didn't say trying, because it's not trying, I am doing. And sometimes you don't have a high turnout. And you can ask, if you go to any of these big churches and you see that some of these people have heads of these ministries and don't nobody show up, they ain't trying to get nobody to show up, and you wonder, like, how well, what's going on. So I'm getting the same, but that's, bring it to momentum. But my goal is to bring things to momentum, because I believe that I have something to offer. I have a great heart, great tenacity, and I truly love God, the God in us, within all of us. And I believe that we're all connected in one way or another, even through differences and things like that. And, and that's what I was meant about not burning a bridge. Me not personally. Now other people may burn it and be like, hey, we don't like you, you ain't coming back, or whatever it is. Try to gaslight you to the point you don't return, which, I have things to do. So, when I, finally get the point, I'm just like, okay, I got other stuff to do, because if you're not an asset, you're a liability until God puts me in a position where I need you to be an asset, right? So, yeah, so that's what happened. So the next Wednesday, I went to the Bible study at Southside Church of Christ, which is affiliated with Woodlawn Church of Christ, which I technically still have a membership there too. But I think what their churches are starting to do now is some of them are to remove membership, because they really don't want to be bothered with you. So if you've been in a little bit, it's like that, But, and I don't really believe in membership, didn't believe in membership in individual churches. So if my name is on a member roster anywhere, it's because these churches was not accepting me as a human being, and they weren't letting me know, again, the thing that I told you about the business, the SWAT threats, the threats that I have as an individual is the same threats that I have as an organization, that there's bottlenecking. They don't want you to know when they have, different, events and stuff. They don't want you to claim as a member of the church, because their ideology, especially the bigger churches that want to get funding and things like that, is that we go out and we do outreach to people like you. We don't have people like you in the congregation. You know what I'm saying? And then also there's a lot of malfeasance in the church. Like I said, you could go to a church and they see people as you. Some of those people, deacons, pastors, whatever, they see women walking the street. That's why I did the Women of Troop Street ministry. It's part of the women's ministry to women that have been solicited, prostituted, not self-trafficked, but sex trafficked, and all of that, because I've seen things. You know what I'm saying? Just even before this form of, living this untraditional lifestyle, I would walk down the street to run errands, and I would have cars slowing down just because they see you walking. And I've always been a practical person. I'm not about appearance and looks and all of that. I'm about practicality first. I work from the inside out, so I might have a big old bag because I'm about to go grocery shopping, or do laundry. And because you have a big old bag and you're walking down the street, it says vulnerable. It says, you don't have traditional resources to them, that nobody cares because you're walking. But I enjoy nature and walking. I believe in using the vessel that God has given me completely, So I'm appreciative of the ability to walk. Wealth is when you are totally healthy, and I'm glad to be wealthy. So they would try to solicit you, and they don't say it directly. And I didn't know that's what they were doing at first. Silly me. I'm thinking they actually want to communicate. So I'm trying to tell them about what I'm doing, and you can see them glaze over. They don't care about none of that. They are soliciting. And then you are vulnerable too, because you see the little old man and you're thinking, okay, yeah, they just want to help. They see a nice girl in the neighborhood all the time, and no, it's not that. They see you as vulnerable, and while you're thinking they're just trying to help and you're being mean because you're not interacting with them, you learn very quickly that's not what they're seeing. So yeah. Oh, Frankie says half snap. I don't have time to do the stuff I'm supposed to do on here, or that I would like to just post about the things that are going on. So I really don't do any of that. Snapchat to me, and I may be wrong, I don't use it, is a personal thing. I know that when people were really, really using it, that it seemed like it was one of those things where they wanted to send stuff that they shouldn't be sending and the pictures would disappear. I'm not into any of that. Anything that I have that I put out, who I am, and that's why I got in trouble with my channel before. Who I am is 100% authentic. I love everything about me, past, present, and future. Absolutely wonderful. I love what God has created in me, and in others too. And that's for the others for themselves, to love about them as well. But yeah, so never going to that church. Ended up going, and I was very impressed by and I said I was never going on Sunday, and I was just like, I don't have to worry about ever seeing that pastor because, and based on appearance, I said, well, I'm here to get out of here. I said, well, to me that was just like the devil. I'm not going. But what ended up happening, who's giving? My system is so slow. I see hearts, but there's nobody here, so I don't know what's going on. Oh, but you know what? It may be the person I blocked. so whatever. But I was impressed, and let me tell you why I was impressed. And this story will probably never get a chance to be told. But I was impressed because I walked in with all of my stuff, my baggage, and I was late. And when I say baggage, I had a book bag, an office book bag. I had a toiletries bag, toiletries and food, kitchen bag, food items bag, and then I forget, there was like 3 different bags, pretty much, and all my sweaters because it was cold, so I dress in layers, and then I carry all my layers with me, so I can put it all back on at night. But and I was like, I'm just going to sneak into the back of the Bible study. But that didn't happen because the Bible study was held in a fellowship hall. The fellowship hall, I had to walk, like I was face to face with the pastor. He was right there. And I was just like, oh man, I'm about to get cursed out because, again, churches don't have a problem doing it. But I'm about to get cursed out. I was like, I got all this stuff. I'm coming late to Bible study. And, they don't particularly want your kind there. So, but no, that wasn't the reading that I got at all. I was told, come on in, sister, have a seat. And the presence that he had and the way that he did it made it so that, again, because the congregation follows the lead of the pastor, because they like the pastor. That's why they're there, you know what I'm saying. So, he smiled patiently. Lots of boys, I think he goes to school for pastoring, so, they teach you all that stuff. And then some of it's natural grace, because, I have some natural grace too, believe it or not. But waited while I shuffled past and got all the stuff in. But anyhow, long story short, and forwarding today, because still is Saturday, these 3 churches, again, I fell in love with Strong Tower. I fell in love with, like I said, Morningstar is so big, with the way that I was treated initially, but then what ends up happening, that happens a lot of times. And the thing is that for me, like I said, I have a mission. And the thing is that a lot of what I'm doing is the right thing, going through the churches and, trying to outreach, like I said, a community connection to the churches, because the community does need the church. And it starts with people that actually are driven. I am driven. I had all my ministries listed, everything that I wanted, and the purpose. I'm into media, I'm into technology, and just recently published a children's book. So all of those things. But anyhow, the way that this past couple of weeks has been crazy. I'll put it this way. And what I would like to do on Monday, December 15th, which is my birthday, I would like to host Mindful Monday session where we get a civic roundtable going about some of these things, marginalized women and law enforcement, misogyny, just a whole bunch of things. I've drafted the letter. I haven't had a time to send it. Like I've drafted all of my newsletters, haven't had time to send. But these are things that need to be, and my hair is not doing what it should do today. Probably because it kind of got wet and it's really smoky in here. How do I feel about it? I don't know. What time is it? Yeah. Am I gonna ride like this? I don't know. Let me check it out real quick. So just a summary of the craziness that I went through over the past week, and it culminated, and it is ongoing, and it's gonna be that. And if you get a chance, shout out again to Strong Tower. It's too much for me because I was sharing some of the things I went through, and thanks for their listening ear last night. I had a situation where, in Strong Tower, being a small church, sometimes a small church is just like the type of woman that I am. You do a lot with a little, okay? They don't have a whole lot. And to be honest with you, I just found out that pastor still works a regular job and actually went to the regular job after him and his wife saw me off last night, So, and whatever they do for me, I have a feeling it comes out of their pocket, you know what I mean? And so, God bless them. So if you get a chance, please visit Strong Tower. Am I ready for Thanksgiving? Yes. I give thanks every single Thursday, not just in November, but every Thursday. I'm absolutely ready. And I'm glad that you asked me that way because should I go over my ends more? I don't think I have time to. I'm going to put on my socks and shoes. But yeah, and what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving, I have a crock pot. I'll probably, and I'm glad you reminded me because nothing's going to be open actually on Thanksgiving, so I need to make sure that I have food. I have some kind of food because I had like a whole 10-pound bag of chicken and like a, I don't know, 10-pound bag of rice, and I want 2 chicken soup with rice. But part of the tragedies is not a tragedy, but I called it my growth rover, the nurturing nomads hub, but it got burned. It was burned in a hate crime on Halloween, and technically it's a hate crime because they were yelling racial slurs, but there was no report, no report. And if there has a report after it catches wind, then I'm letting people know that there was no report, whether by the fire department or the police department. And I actually called the following day because those same young individuals came back and vandalized the site where they set the fire. There was no report. And then this is where Christian Love Bible Baptist Church comes in. So on Tuesday night, and Tuesday was a whole day of recomeuppance. Basically, during that day, it was a whole day of recomeuppance. So I was sitting outside working. This is my favorite time of year. And those arsonists came back again. And I was just like, because I was going to let it go. But I was just like, how are they just walking around like they've done nothing, Anyways, I gotta go because I need to pack up and get everything going and get out of here. And I got some other things for the day, and hopefully I'll have time and resources to let you know how it goes. But really, shout out to Strong Tower, and to make it brief because I'm gonna try to wrap it up. 3 churches were involved: Strong Tower Church, Morning Star Baptist Church, Christian Love Bible Baptist Church. Again, all of my content is for educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic purposes only. It is not to encourage malfeasance or any opinions about any person, entity, or thing one way or another. I'm just documenting my life and what a woman like me goes through from marginalization through metamorphosis to momentum and to being a mogul. And I think I'm actually maybe already there because I'm starting to understand there are social barriers and systemic dynamics. People are people and they be peopling. So with all these things that had happened, and it's just so ironic, and I thought I flat ironed this, like what's going on? But it's so ironic because it's so ironic. So it's so many layers to this. I can never tell the whole story unless I had a whole 24 hours to sit and just talk to you, which I don't mind doing, but I don't have that availability for safety purpose and for other reasons. So, with all that happened, like I said, that Tuesday, there's a group of ladies that has a little, from all these different churches that I've visited, I'm aware of or feel very familiar to. that visit this, they have a session at this open place. I'll just put it that way. And so I haven't been probably in almost a year, very many months, because I was working on my own thing. And plus I wasn't very good at what they were doing, which is crocheting. And plus, I think my presence there made people a little bit uncomfortable. First of all, there are issues, sometimes, we won't talk about that. But anyhow, I needed help, because those arsonists were back and they were now showing up in daylight, just completely bold, letting me know that basically we can do whatever and it doesn't matter because we know the police not gonna do anything. They set the fire and they even said, you called the police, you watched it, you sat and watched us set the fire. These are 4 Caucasian youth. They happen to be Caucasian, that's just what they happen to be. So, I was like, I need to get my stuff out of there, because my whole thing is peace and my whole thing is productivity. God has us do things. He has me shift gears every so often, probably for safety and other things. And so I was like, I need to get my stuff out of there. At least my art supplies, I just replaced everything. They just burned, and they did threaten to burn the rest. So I went into this room of all these people that are supposed to be, and this is God, it's cold in here now. So this is God's way of me not giving up on Christian Connection. I haven't given up, but again, so many things happen. I don't necessarily have time to do everything that I want to do. And so that's God's way of saying this is a priority. So I walked in. Normally that room is packed. There's like 10 women, older, there's a set of probably 8 women that are consistent, and there's people that float in and out like I was, right? And some of them are familiar with them, some of them are just guests of that facility, whatever. And so when I went in, there was only 2 women there. There was a woman that I call a mother in a way, okay? I feel like I know her, but I've only met her through there, but she feels so familiar to me. And then there's another woman that I didn't realize was a sister at a church that I went to. And actually she has seen me a few times, at the Bible studies and things like that. And so I had the opportunity to have a very open conversation with these women and let them know about what happened and, how, the Christian Connection and all this, and about my affiliation with the churches and, things that I went through to get their advice and stuff. And basically the bottom line was, hey, can you help me transport my art supplies away from here? And she said yes, in her brand new car, that she cleans herself, that did not have a smudge. I don't know if it's brand new, but she cleaned it so good it looks brand new anywhere. And she did that. And she gave me so much love, support, encouragement, advice, and everything, and I told her my situations and she understood them. Now the sister at the church that I go, that I haven't been to a church since August 23rd because of, it's too much, but I've been busy, I'll just put it that way. And so, she, again, you're faithful to your church, right? So she's just like, well, maybe this, that, and the other. But the other lady saw the meeting, was like, yeah. And so, she helped me do all that, sent me off with so much love, and she's a very loving mother person. So shout out to Mount Olive Church in Hayhara, Georgia. So I get all that stuff done and taken, and then, I'm doing what I need to do for the rest of the day. And I let the person at that facility, because I've been working outside, I hadn't been working on indoors, that, hey, due to a change in my rhythm, I'm going to be working indoors now. And, just to make sure she was aware and to gauge if she was okay with that. And she was like, okay, fine. I said, do you have a preference of where you want me to sit? And, she said no, and then she advised. And that's what I need. I need honesty. If you have a preference of where you want me to be, not to be, let me know. Be honest, because I want it to be a good experience for all of us. I'm here to work. I'm here to do my thing. I'm not here to be seen. I'm not here to interact unless, unless I'm actively doing some marketing, and that's not what I go there for. I go there to actually just work. So, then later on that night, I left like another item, and I felt like, okay, I need to make sure I grab this because this is important to me. So God spoke to me to do that. When I went back, I went the long way around. I grabbed what I had to go because it gets dark early now. 5:30 is dark, right? Grab what I had to grab. What time is it? Okay, grab what I had to go and grab. But anyway, I can't finish this right now, but I'll finish it when I get a chance. It's very important to be heard. Again, shout out to the Dawson Denise channel. These people don't know me, but again, I shout out to them because part of what I'm doing with the Christian Connection is revealing some of these things. Maybe not in the same tone that that channel does, because it's all out of love and out of respect. But, just acknowledging the fact that these things do happen, because some people never know. never know. But again, can't give enough thanks to Strong Tower Church for all the love you've given me. treated me like, truly like family, with no expectations, Thank you. Thank you for individuals in the community that have come and cried tears for me. Thank you for the men. And when I say that, because men should be the backbone of the society, and there are those that have stepped through. Thank you for the wives. Get closer. Thank you for the wives that have put together these families that you are a part of, that you have bestowed love and care upon, have put out towards me and allowed me to be a part of and accepted in. Thank you. Thank you. As a woman that's a single woman, single and satisfied, married to Christ, that from time to time does show sanctified, empowered expressions of singleness. And that from time to time, because I am a middle-aged woman, there are other things going on too. But thank you. What kind of grace is that? Because, of the wife of the pastor of Strong Tower Church, I was actually able to nair. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. With grace, with dignity, without someone, coming by and yelling my name in the middle. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. I absolutely love you. I adore you. And thank you for family. Thank you for the son that shows so much care, love, and respect, that bought his cane, just in case he needed to tap on some people. But at a jest, But thank you. Thank you. Thank you for these pastors that work these jobs, for God, and still maintain and hold down a worldly job. And they really do their job. The worldly job, and they go out and beyond. They're working like 20 hours a day. They go to their job 8 hours. They come home to their family, and they're still feeding themselves with the word daily. And then when they have somebody that's a member of the body of Christ, they don't have any problem. So much love. And I'm going to tell you this, all these churches that I mentioned, and more, because I visited practically every church, I've encountered someone from every church in Valdosta. There's love stories to tell at each church. Stories of community, of fellowship, of love, a little bit of drama and hate, because you can't have love without that. But these are all part of my life, and I am thankful. Are there some stories that need to be told that's a little bit different? Yeah, there are, but it's all part of my journey. And again, I'm going to get up out of here. I love you. What am I eating for Thanksgiving? Probably chicken soup with rice, but thank you for asking. Ria's in Dakino. Okay. William Denon is my name. Oh, I remember you. I know you now. I just didn't recognize his name, and my eyesight's not so great, so I can't see the icon. I don't know if you changed, because everybody's getting married these days. You probably married too. But I certainly do love you all with the love of Christ. Thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for listening. And if you couldn't listen, thank you for, bringing your presence here. I need to pack it up and get on up out of here. And I'll let you know I have other things planned for the day. I'll let you know what that's what, my eyes see, but I'll let you know what God devise when I get a chance and opportunity. Again, I love you. Much respect and peace. Continue to have a great Stillness Saturday. Whatever you need to do to find peace for yourself, do it. If it's planning, if it's just sitting still, going to a park, doing some yoga, or laying in bed and scrolling through, social media, do that too. Anyways, goodbye for now. Ciao.